As expected, Penn State wrestling advances all 10 to the next round of the NCAA tournament. But that's not the most exciting news of the day, as a world champion might be joining Penn State in the coming season.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State wrestling and NCAA tournament coverage. My name is Zach Sako, and I'm your host of Locked On Nittany Lions, the #1 Penn State sports podcast out there. Thanks so much for joining this live show, as there is plenty to discuss with Penn State advancing all 10 wrestlers. So Session 1 recap, Session 2 preview for tonight, what to expect with the matchups, and Masanosuke Ono is enrolled at Penn State University. He is in the student directory, so meaning he is officially enrolled. So what can we speculate thus far, as nothing's been announced, as he's not officially a member of the team, but where there is smoke, there is fire. So how soon could Ono be actually joining the Penn State wrestling team and not just being a member of the wrestling club? We got plenty to discuss here. Let's start with the Session 1 results and start to discuss what Ono to Penn State can mean. And of course, the live chat is wide open, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. So Penn State goes 10 out of 10, advancing all of it as expected, right? This is nothing earth-shattering. This is nothing groundbreaking. The groundbreaking news is Ono, but all 10 wrestlers advance to the next round, which could create some intriguing matchups and where it's going to get a little more serious. But at 125, Luke Lillidahl got things started off and gets, he wasn't the first one to wrestle, but as the lightweight ends up getting a tech fall over Marcelli Milani of Cornell, winning 19-4, and that's 1.5 bonus points. Bonus points are going to be a common theme here. 133, Braden Davis, slow start, strong finish, gets a major decision over Kurt Phipps of Bucknell, 12-4 the final. Had a 7-point move in the final 15 seconds, give or take. Now, this one was an interesting result. I gotta say, it was interesting. Bo Bartlett ends up getting a 4-2 decision over Jordan Titus. Just kind of, quick synopsis here, a little more analysis later on, but just want to get through the results. Maybe Bartlett wasn't feeling the best this morning. Because he is a top 3 wrestler. We've seen him defeat Jesse Mendez. He's taken out Brock Hardy, the #1 seed, but he struggles against the 31 seed in Titus of West Virginia. Maybe something with the weigh-ins. I've been listening to the ESPN Mattcast, and Trent Hidley, who is from Central Pennsylvania, grew up 30 minutes from State College, mentioned how if you're not feeling the best, your mindset kind of changes to where I just got to survive in advance. And maybe Bartlett was dealing with a morning sickness, more or less. So I'm not making excuses, but match didn't look good. He certainly wasn't aggressive. So maybe there is something there that isn't going to carry over into the next match, but he's the only one that did not pick up bonus points in this first session. 149, Shane Van Ness pins Gabe Willichel of Wyoming in 4 minutes. Tyler Kasak pins Landon Johnson of Northern Illinois in 1.5 minutes. Tyler Kasak's the favorite at 157. You can't convince me otherwise. Same thing, 165, Mitchell Messenbrink, overwhelming favorite at his weight class. He gets the tech fall, water is wet. We know that. Against Chandler Amaker of Central Michigan, 16-0 was the final in 3.5 minutes. 174, Levi Haynes pins Branson John of Maryland. There was that controversy with Arkansas Little Rock and how their wrestler was out of eligibility. And so everybody bumped up because he was actually supposed to wrestle somebody different. Then they moved everybody up with that wrestler being ineligible. And Branson John of Maryland gets pinned in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Carter Starachi. Shout out to Carter Starachi, who picks up his 100th career victory and moves on after getting a tech fall against Caden Rogers of Lehigh, 18-2 in 6 minutes and 19 seconds. Greg Kirkfleet, also, I passed over Josh Barr, pardon me. Josh Barr, major decision against Tucker Hogan of Lehigh. A lot of Pennsylvania wrestlers in here, just outside of Penn State, right? Bucknell, Lehigh. But he major decisions. He gets a major against Tucker Hogan of Lehigh, 9-1. So it was good to see Josh Barr not be tentative. You would expect a tech fall from him or a pin. However, solid major decision against Hogan of Lehigh. And then Greg Kirkfleet tech falls his opponent, Sam Mitchell of Wyoming, 15-0 in 5.5 minutes. So there you have it. All the results from session 1. No surprises here. I think the only one is Bo Bartlett did not perform as anticipated. I mean, out of all the wrestlers to not get bonus points, it's him. Now, granted, Bartlett is more of a defensive wrestler than an offensive juggernaut, but 4-2 when you're the 2 seed and he's the 31 seed, it does seem pretty skeptical. I'm going to hold my reservations until this next match. If he struggles in the round of 16, that's when we might have to think about, okay, how's that matchup going to look against Tegan Jamison? And I already have my concerns because Jamison is extremely talented from Oklahoma State. As far as the team standings go, let's see if I can get an updated team standing, get everything updated from the team standings. At the last update, from what I have, 19.5 Penn State was leading, but that was before the scores for Josh Barr and Oklahoma State, where they're still leading regardless there. But they would have it would look to be 21 points, 21.5 points, I think, or 22. But they are leading. Second place is Oklahoma State, third place Nebraska, fourth place Cornell. So an outstanding session 1. But when that's expected, everybody's going to want to talk about this other news on the side of Masanosuke Ono being in the Penn State student directory. So I am in the belief where, right, if there's been all these rumblings because he was training at Penn State for the Spencer Lee duel, the Spencer Lee match, and he ultimately won. That wasn't the most, I mean, it was exciting from the superstar potential, the superstar power there. But in terms of overall scoring, it was 3-2. But he won. Ono won. Ono's a world champion. Ono immediately comes in and he will start and he will compete if and when that is the case. But it seems like things are pointing in the right direction for Ono to be a part of Penn State's lineup next season, as soon as next season. Maybe they push him for a year out, but I can't imagine they wait on that. So while some people are critical and saying that Penn State's dynasty is over, Penn State misses out on this top recruit, that top recruit, everybody's playing checkers while Penn State's playing chess. While Cael Sanderson's playing chess and gets, yes, he misses some of the top recruits in the nation, but somehow is able to land potentially, right? This is still upon speculation, but I think everything points in the right direction. Until there's an official announcement, I want to be careful how I go on the record about this. But Ono being in the student directory, certainly that doesn't happen by accident. Let's just say that. He's not at another school. He's not affiliated with somebody else. He is enrolled at Penn State University and just finished training with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club for that match with Spencer Lee, where he won. He's a world champion. He's 21 years old. So he would immediately be a national title contender, most likely at 133 pounds. That's where Ono would slide in, because at 61 kilograms, that's give or take 134 pounds. I'm pretty sure he could maintain 133. Maybe they need him to bump up to 141 with Bo Bartlett moving on. Who knows what that means, but we got plenty to discuss here over the course of this live show, so stay tuned. What to expect in session 2. We're going to get to the live chat coming up next and talk more about what Ono's presence at Penn State would look like for a hypothetical Penn State lineup going into next season. That is coming up next here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. You'll get surprising insights. So when I started using Monarch for myself, I realized where money was going, where it was being allocated to for package deliveries or eating out, things like that. And now I get to budget smarter and I get to save more. The all-in-one convenience of it is great because instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. And you'll have easy collaboration moving forward. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track all your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's right, 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team play live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets to these events should not be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute tickets on seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks is a great, incredible feature because what it does is it will help you find the best value for tickets to anything, whether it's sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. You have easy ticket shopping with Game Time. You can check the Game Time app and there's always amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up, especially with the college basketball tournament. You'll have the super deal, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And you get peace of mind at the end of the day. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guaranteed, you can always book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That is code LOCKEDONCollege. Code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And thank you everyone for joining the live show here after session 1 and on the heels of an interesting development for Penn State wrestling. So dominating on the mat, also dominating off the mat as well. So we got some We Ares in here. We are Penn State. Bartlett really letting it fly around. Sarcasm here. Only one without bonus points. Again, we don't know what's going on with Bartlett. We've seen Bartlett wrestle all season. So if this was a common theme, I understand. In the years past, it is questionable at times. You know, man, could you push the pace a little more? But I'm going to chalk that up. Session 1, first match of the day, where he might have had, again, maybe you're cutting weight. It doesn't feel good. And that's why, so Trent Hidley on that ESPN streamcast for ESPN, and he mentioned that specifically. And I like the way Bo Bartlett wrestled. That's kind of understanding if maybe he didn't feel 100%, but it's just about survive and advance. I'll take the win over missing bonus points just for all 10 to get across the finish line here. And here, talk Ono to me, Zach Seiko. Yep. Imagine Lillidahl, Ono, and Blaze to kick off a dual meet. If it's curtains for everyone if Cael pulls that off. And it's trending in the right direction. Masanosuke Ono just accidentally enrolls at Penn State University. I don't think that happens by accident. But again, until I don't know how much I wanted to put on the record until Ono makes an announcement or Penn State makes an announcement or somebody officially reports on it that has more inside information than I do, with whether that, you know, anything, Flow Wrestling, Justin Bash, etc. But everyone has their ear to the ground now that this is out there. Somebody went snooping with the student directory, and it's out there. And how many people are named Masanosuke Ono, right? How many people do we know that are named Masanosuke Ono? That's interesting. Ono would be 125 and Lillidahl would be 133 in my honest opinion. I could go either way. I don't think either wrestler would. Now, I've been told that, and Jeff Byers and I have talked about this before, and probably a long time ago when we were projecting some other lineups, that Lillidahl's not always going to be at 125. Eventually, he's going to have to move up to 133. Is that next season? Is that the season after? Is that his junior year? Maybe he's able to hold 125 all the way to his senior year, but 133 is definitely in the cards for Lillidahl. Is that sooner or is that later? But I think what gets interesting is, I kind of wanted to save this for the final segment, but I guess we can talk about it right now. Masanosuke Ono, his presence, it gets really intriguing because it does displace Braden Davis in the process. because that's Braden Davis's spot. And it also complicates things for Aaron Nagel one way or another. Okay, so Ono's at 125. Well, then Luke Lillidahl's not going to ride the bench. He'll bump up to 133. So now Braden Davis doesn't have a spot. Aaron Nagel doesn't have a spot. 141. That's where the competition opens up in a sense. And so that's why I don't know that Ono wrestles at 125. I think he'd be at 133 because he just wrestled at 61 kilos against Spencer Lee, and Lillidahl's the starter at 125. So you're asking someone to cut, not that it's not hard for them, but you're asking Ono to cut 8 pounds and then Lillidahl to add 8 pounds. So I don't think Penn State would do that. However, it changes the lineup. Lillidahl at 25, Ono at 33. Who's at 141? Marcus Blaze? I think that Marcus Blaze makes a lot of sense at 141 coming in as a true freshman. Or is it Braden Davis? Or is it Aaron Nagel? I don't think Aaron Nagel should be forgotten. He's still in the mat room. But things definitely get interesting there as far as what Penn State wants to do. They're not going to redshirt Ono. The second Ono is enrolled in a part of the team, he's going to be in the starting lineup. There's not going to be a lot of wrestlers in Penn State's mat room that are going to be able to defeat Masanosuke Ono and anyone at the NCAA level for that matter. It will get really interesting from there. But Braden Davis probably would most likely, it would make sense for him to maybe take a red shirt, take a red shirt, and maybe he does a little bit of still trains with Penn State. I don't think he needs to absolutely enter the transfer portal. Same thing with Aaron Nagel. But they have some decisions to make as far as what direction they want to go in personally. Penn State, you notice how Penn State never has an exodus when they get wrestlers, right? Alex Facundo, Lucas Cochran, nobody ever really entered the transfer portal. I know some of those matchups, those battles for the starting spot carried on into the season. But there's not this max exodus of wrestlers that are constantly transferring out of Penn State despite having the 10 starting spots seemingly locked up every single year. So Braden Davis could go through an Olympic red shirt of some sort, or go through, right? He could just take his red shirt. He's still a true sophomore. And I think that would be most beneficial for him. And he could bulk up weight and train and really work on his craft so that he can return to the lineup. But he's not defeating Ono, and I'd be intrigued to see how he does against a Marcus Blaze. I got to imagine that Marcus Blaze would defeat Braden Davis head to head at 141. That's more of a gut feeling. It's not really because they haven't wrestled yet, right? Interestingly enough, Ono's defeated Marcus Blaze on the international stage. I think the score was 7-2. That was intriguing. We're off to a great start. We're off to a fantastic start after session 1. Session 2 is where it's going to get a little more entertaining. Bar looks healthy. Bar does look healthy. Mostly it's just about getting situated to live action. So Bar getting a major decision, right? He didn't look passive. He didn't look tentative. I think there was certainly a learning curve there just to, because he's wearing a muscle sleeve. If anybody noticed that on his hamstring, he's wearing a muscle sleeve for Penn State at 197. So, but it's not a knee injury. It's a hamstring leg injury. So he looks to be okay. I still wonder in those matches with Stephen Little, with Jacob Cardenas eventually, maybe it's Michael Beard. I don't even want to assume that it's Stephen Little, but when the competition gets better, that's where I want to see Josh Barr and how he adjusts to their speed, because it was sudden victory against Stephen Little when he was 100%. It was sudden victory and tiebreaker against Jacob Cardenas, and that was enough to get him a win the first time. In tiebreaker, it wasn't enough to get him a win in sudden victory at Big Tens. So if you're not 100% against these kind of elite wrestlers, how are you going to do? So we have some score updates. So what I had pulled up, 24.5. So Penn State is leading the team scoring with 24.5 points, and every single wrestler scored bonus points except Bo Bartlett. And I'm not too concerned there. For some reason, I didn't see the Bar match. How did he look? I think he looked admirable. For somebody that had to medically forfeit for the remainder of the Big Ten tournament, I was impressed. Granted, that's a matchup he should win 9 times out of 10. Are we all kind of used to, we're predisposed to thinking that, yeah, Barr's going to get a tech fall or somebody's going to get a pin, which is why that Bo Bartlett's result is so surprising because everyone just assumes that, hey, you better win by major decision tech fall. But for the first match back, after having to forfeit those final ones, you didn't finish against Isaiah Salazar, and you had to forfeit those final two matches. I guess you had to forfeit. You had to forfeit the final two. You didn't finish against Salazar, and you didn't even go out there against Camden McDaniel of Nebraska. So, Bar going out there, registering a major decision, that's fantastic. There are the official team standings. Penn State has 24 and a half. It looks like 24 and a half. Oklahoma State 15 and a half, and Michigan 12. Michigan was a relatively young lineup outside of Jacob Cardenas, but that's a solid team that it looks like they're going to be peaking at the right time. Some interesting results. Paniro Johnson getting knocked out at 149. Oh my goodness. I thought Paniro Johnson was going to give Caleb Henson. Now, I think Caleb Henson's in line to win at 149, but I thought he was going to have to go through Paniro Johnson. Johnson ended up getting upset as a 4 seed in the first round. Ono is not going to wrestle Falk, officially just going to be at the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and a student. So maybe I am getting ahead of myself here if that's the case. So that's why it's all speculation. What would this look like? Is he just training? Is he enrolling at the university to, be affiliated with it fully and then training with them and working on freestyle and everything else? He trained at Penn State for the Spencer Lee match. So Ono really burst onto the scene with only 21 years old. He's already he's not an Olympic, excuse me. He's a world champion, not an Olympic champion. I don't want that out there. That's misinformation. But he's really emerged as somebody that internationally is recognized here, and why that Spencer Lee Ono matchup was such a big deal. So, all right, let's look ahead to session 2. Session 2 is going to have plenty of interesting matchups, to say the least, where, Penn State should be expected to advance all 10 again to the quarterfinals, but we'll go through all of them coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's episode is also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. So whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or you're just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. All of the basketball madness is here. I hope your bracket's still intact. Now you're going to be staying up late to watch some of these all the tournament action, right? Well, 5-Hour Energy will help you keep up with the next day. Extra daylight means extra activities with longer days. If you love going outside for a jog or for a hike, you can get a quick boost from flavors like Tropical Burst or Peach Mango. The on-the-go convenience from 5-Hour Energy is such a benefit. Whether you're at a game or you're traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and will keep you feeling refreshed. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including others in addition to Peach Mango, like watermelon, blue raspberry. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack, and it'll be delivered right to your door. Do you need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, welcome back for the final segment here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. So we're going to talk about Session 2 and go through the matches that Penn State has ready that are lined up. So Luke Lillidahl going to advance to round 2, where he will face Blake West of Northern Illinois. And this Lillidahl looks like the best version of himself. And this is a matchup where he's just the speed is going to be too much for a Blake West to keep up with. And Lillidahl should have no issues advancing to the quarterfinals. So anticipate a major decision, maybe even another tech fall here. No disrespect to Blake West, but Luke Lillidahl continues to get better and better after every single match. 133. This is the one that everyone's had circled. I think if for Braden Davis and monitoring his results, he's going up against Braxton Brown. That's a rematch from the Big Ten tournament. Brown looked like he struggled a little bit, and so for what it's worth, so did Braden Davis. That 12-4 major decision is a little deceiving. Phipps got the early takedown, and then Davis countered, got a reversal, kept it close, got a late takedown, and it was that 7-point move at the end to turn this into a major decision. But I thought it was going to end up being maybe 5-4, depending on the riding time. Might have been 6-4 if Davis was going to go that way, but ultimately got another takedown and got the major decision and those near fall points as well. So against Braxton Brown, this is a toss-up. Braden Davis was in control for the most part against Brown the first time that they met at Big Tens, but it's no guarantee that it's going to go that way the second time around because Brown started to chip his way back and was threatening there at the end. My confidence for Davis, I'm one of the ones that are a little more confident in Davis and his ability to move on in this NCAA tournament than maybe most are, so I will still take Davis in this matchup. But it's not going to surprise me if Braxton Brown happens to win by decision here. I still am picking Davis. Bo Bartlett moves on after a close 1-4-2 decision against Titus of West Virginia. He will take on Julian Tagg of South Dakota State. Tagg looked good in his opening match. I thought that Tagg had an impressive win. I want to make sure that I get his opponent right. I don't remember it off the top of my head. So he ended up defeating, he defeated Joseph Oliveri of Rutgers, and it was a 13-3 major decision. So Tagg looked really good, and Bartlett, if you're kind of playing into a little bit of recency, Bartlett's coming in cold and Tagg is coming in hot. I don't expect an upset here. Bartlett's going to win, but is he going to win the way that he should by a major decision? I can't imagine a tech fall here against Tagg. The margin of error, the margin of victory is going to get a lot closer here. But Bartlett should be able to advance and move on to face Tegan Jamison of Oklahoma State. And that's the one that I have circled for Bartlett. That's going to be a massive test for him going into the quarterfinal. At 149, Shane Van Ness against Andrew Clark. He's already defeated Andrew Clark before. This is the wrestler from Rutgers. So don't expect anything different here. Van Ness should win comfortably. Get a bonus point. Major decision. It's hard to project the tech fault. Shane Van Ness ended up getting into a scramble against Willichell and ultimately pinned his opponent. Van Ness is capable of it. Tyler Casack going up against Cody Chittum of Iowa State. Intriguing matchup here. I like Casack's peaking, kind of like Lillidahl is. They're in the same category of they just continue to get better, faster, stronger. Casack should be the odds-on favorite at 157. So any matchup up until that semifinal, I don't have any concerns for Tyler Casack. 165, similar situation here with Mitchell Messenbrink. Kyle Mosher of Hofstra. Messenbrink should be able to tech fall him and move on to the quarterfinals for Friday morning. Levi Haynes will go up against 18 seed Gavin Sachs of Oklahoma. Another situation where bonus points are on the table. Major decision, tech fall. Carter Starachi has already defeated this wrestler before, another Rutgers opponent. Shane Cartagena Walsh of Rutgers is going to be wrestling him. Starachi, bonus points on the table. Josh Barr going up against Trey Munoz. So Munoz has been injured this season, but for those who remember, Munoz is a former All-American, Oregon State wrestler here. That is one that should have people's attention because Barr, yes, looked solid in the first matchup there, winning by major decision. But Trey Munoz is no pushover. He's battled injuries this season. He's dealt with some bumps and bruises. If Munoz is as close to 100% as possible, then this is one, at the end of the day, I expect Barr to move on. I would not be surprised if Munoz does pull off the upset. I'm just saying, and that's more of a credit to Munoz and not so much a criticism of Barr. It's to know where is Munoz, but this wrestler is not a pushover. He's not your average 13 seed if you're not familiar with Trey Munoz. And then Greg Kirkfleet will finish things up at heavyweight with the 14 seed Gavin Hoffman of Lock Haven. For those who didn't know, Kirkfleet's actually dealing with an injury. He picked up an injury. Now he looked fine. He ended up getting a tech fall in the first round, but he was actually injured in practice this past week and has that brace on his leg. So hopefully that doesn't intrude on any matchups moving forward, right? where the margin of error is so much closer with the likes of Wyatt Hendrickson. You need everything and then some against Gable Steveson. So Kerkvliet, if he's not 100% by the time Saturday rolls around, I hope that leg injury isn't as serious or isn't anything that's going to bother Kerkvliet. But unfortunate circumstances with both Barr and Kerkvliet inconveniently picking up 2 leg injuries along the way. We'll go back to the comment section to finish up this live show. And again, I want to remind everyone, self-promote. After every single session, you are getting a live reaction to recap and to preview what's ahead for Penn State. Cael is on a mission. You can hear it in his interviews and you can see it on the mat. When you have determination, there's almost nothing. I don't think there's anything that can stop you. So that's a little bit of an enlightening message along the way here. But yes, it feels like Cael really does have some tunnel vision here going into this NCAA tournament, where he truly believes that and that's half the battle, is the belief that you can be an NCAA champion. Oh no, Penn State has Ono. We'll see what happens if he's ultimately going to be in the Penn State lineup, or if this is just simply to be a part of the, right? You're training along the best of the best. And I recently, so this is kind of top of mind with me, but I recently did an interview and to talk about Penn State wrestling and why they're still successful. It was a show around, the modern day of college athletics with NIL and the transfer portal, and why is Penn State still so successful? But I want to go back to a question that I was asked. Why does Cael Sanderson continue to be successful year in and year out? Because he's built a foundation. The RTC program, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, is that foundation. They have so much talent. They have the best of the best training there. They're partnered with USA Wrestling. So if you want to be at Penn State and get the best of the best exposure, training, whatever have you, and be around those types of athletes, around those types of people, that's why Masanosuke Ono, for what it's worth, whether it is folk style or whether it's just going to be freestyle training and perfecting his craft, but that's what Cael did. He built a foundation that isn't going to be broken. And it's only going to continue to build itself and get stronger. So yes, you have the collegiate team, but the wrestling club, it's not on the side. It's the foundation. It's the base that really props up Penn State, and why you don't see it, take a step back. They only continue to get stronger and stronger each time. See what other comments. Yes, I think that Justin Bash is in the chat. Justin, what do you know? What can you tell us? Because I've name dropped you a couple of times today. Thanks for stopping by if you're still here. The team wrestled really well today. Bartlett will be just fine. Let the tournament play out. Absolutely. Brant from 24/7 says otherwise, and he's about as tapped in as it gets when it comes to Penn State and has been well for over a decade. I'm going to listen to him. Trent Hidley, Lewistown boy, good commentator with Shane. I've interviewed Trent Hidley before. Both Hayden and Trent Hidley, outstanding individuals. I have nothing but the best of things to say about them. But in the case of Penn State, they never got past them. Whether it was Hayden against Jason Nolf or Trent against Aaron Brooks, they were always a step behind Penn State. Bartlett beats everyone 4-2, so no worries. Absolutely. Jeff is usually very good. I watch and listen to him, but he had a tough afternoon with a lot of surprising mistakes. I did not listen to his broadcast because I was interested to hear from Trent Hidley on the ESPN, since that's his first broadcast. And again, I've talked to Trent before, so I was looking forward to his debut on ESPN. So I'll have to make sure that I tune in for Jeff's broadcast tonight. It's a shame to hear. I know Jeff's always on his A game, so I enjoyed having Jeff on the show. So it's kind of the same thing. I know that Jeff's going to bounce back if he did happen to make any sort of mistakes. Ono in the lineup will be sick. It's not a guarantee. It's unfortunately not a guarantee at this point. I'm going to put my ear to the ground and see what I can find in the process. But for the most part, it is good news that he's affiliated with Penn State University, that he's at a minimum going to be in the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. What that does to a Penn State lineup, would he actually, since he's a student, he can be, since he's a student, he could be on the collegiate team. That's half the battle. It's not like he moved to State College, but he's not part of the university. He's not enrolled as a student. if you are a student, then yes, you can be a part of the collegiate team. So there's a lot of layers to this. We'll see how it all unfolds, but this is step one with a lot of other steps to go through. So until there's an official announcement, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but he didn't commit to he didn't train at Oklahoma State. He's not working with David Taylor. He's working with Cael Sanderson, Penn State, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. He's a student at Penn State University. He's not a student anywhere else. So the good news is pointing towards everything Penn State right now and nowhere else. So that's going to conclude this live episode of Locked On Nittany Lions, recapping session 1, previewing session 2. Penn State, expect nothing less than all 10 to advance to the quarterfinals. But whether they do or they don't, we're going to have a live recap coming up on the way after session 2 to talk about the results, preview session 3, and get your comments and feedback in the live chat as well for all of these live shows. So thank you so much for checking out this episode. I really appreciate the support on the channel. If you're not already, become an everydayer, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on these conversations, whether they're about Penn State wrestling, Penn State football, or Penn State basketball. We got you covered here on the #1 Penn State Sportscast podcast out there, Locked On Nittany Lions.